And now, it's the Finding Your Spine podcast with host Chase Spears.
Welcome back to the Finding Your Spine podcast, where we call you to live and lead boldly in the truth. Navy veteran Chris Pierce is with me in studio today, all the way from my neck of the woods, Lansing, Kansas.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Chase.
Man, it's a joy to have you. We've been talking about this for a little bit, and we've got to know each other more in local stuff.
Yes.
But and where you're actively in the fight, quite literally right now. But that's not unusual for the lifestyle that you've lived as a veteran, as a, dare I say, operator in the Navy, and you've got some neat stories to tell, and a man who's definitely made bold stands physically, morally, a man who I definitely am grateful to know.
Man, I am just honored to be here, Chase. You're doing great things, man. And I think you've made comments that you didn't know that your contribution to society would be after you got out of the military, and here you are killing it, man. So thank you for having me.
No, it's a joy. It's a joy. Well, let me give a quick once over the world, because I punish everyone who comes here by making them listen to a list of things that I learned about them.
Great.
Otherwise known as your biography. Chris Pierce, you've served 22 years on active duty in the U.S. Navy, retiring in 2010 as a Chief Petty Officer, specialized in boarding operations to intercept and secure hostile and non-compliant vessels at sea, also working extensively in combat systems like the shipboard cruise missiles. Chris went on to work as a civilian in the Navy for another 10 years after that, leading, planning, and large-scale emergency operations that brought together city, county, state, and federal resources to train them on how to deal with terrorism incidents. And you now work on Fort Leavenworth. You're also currently involved in an international nonprofit service organization where you serve as a board president. Married to your sweetheart, Stephanie. Boy, she is a great woman.
I don't know how she puts up with me.
I don't know either, but she's awesome.
She's awesome.
17 years, 2 wonderful children. We just got to have dinner with y'all a few nights ago. What? Your kids are awesome.
Thanks, man. It was great having you guys over.
Man, it was so much fun. Proudly embracing the weird homeschool family life since 2020. Welcome to the thug life, baby.
I know, man.
Welcome to the thug life.
I never thought in a million years we'd be doing homeschooling, but we fell in love with it. You get one chance to raise your children, man. Only one.
Yeah.
You know, and we're blessed. I have 2 wonderful kids. And I made the comment the other day to someone, when I was out shaking hands, and I said, my kids are so much smarter than I was at their age. And she's 92 years old. She said, no, they're not. They just have better technology now. She goes, my father always reminded us that he went from horse and buggy to putting a man on the moon. And it literally made me sit back in my chair and go, yeah, we're just doing it differently now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm great and blessed that my wife is able to stay home and, be their teacher, because it's a really hard job. It's a really hard job.
It's something that I didn't fully appreciate until I got out of the Army, and now I work mostly from home. And so my office is there in the house. And I'll hear her teaching, and I'll come out for a break or to get some water, and I'll observe her teaching. It's a full-time.
It is.
Hands-on, constantly.
It is.
And it's so amazing to watch Lori, and I'm sure Stephanie is probably a lot in the same vein, like the commitment.
Lori's done a great job too, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just amazing to watch them work. And we belong to a co-op, and just all of the families are just amazing, and the amount of dedication and time that it takes, they don't get enough credit. They just don't.
They don't. And what's neat for me is I still get to learn from it. Like, there's this one morning, I was actually late getting into. I've got a gym down in my basement, and the basement is where our homeschool room is, and so Lori's down there reading to the girls, and I'm just a few feet away in the gym doing my thing. And I'm actually listening to her reading and teaching. And I came upstairs later. We actually had the Tolkien Society that night in Kansas City. As we were driving to it, I was telling her, all right, I've got to know what book that was you were reading. Like, that just totally, you had me enthralled. And so, what's really neat about homeschooling life it's just a way. It's not just a method of education. At least for us in our home, it's been like a way of life, an educational way of life. And I had Dr. Ben Carson here a few months ago.
I heard.
And he was awesome.
Yeah.
He's every bit as cool in person as he is on TV.
That had to be awesome.
Oh, dude, I was starstruck. People were asking me, like, after we recorded, I stepped out in the hallway for a few minutes to take a break, and they're asking me, what y'all talk about, what it was like? And I'm like, it was awesome, and I have no idea what we talked about, because I was just kept telling myself, like, I'm 3 feet from Dr. Ben Carson.
Right.
And so, like,
I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, I had to go back and watch the episode. Oh, that's what we talked about. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Awesome.
No, he's amazing. But anyways, one of the things that he said that we've actually implemented in our house was every night sit down at dinner and ask the kids, what did you learn today? And it just reinforced me, like, man, this is really a lifestyle of learning and loving knowledge.
Yes. And I'm glad. I'm glad that we chose to do that. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, nothing like it.
No.
Well, man, I got to know you in Lansing just in the last few months. You're currently running for city council. We'll know by the time this airs how that came out. I have high hopes. But your story of taking a stands goes so far back beyond that. And the first time we sat down to lunch and you told me who you are and your story.
There's only a few people that know it, Chase.
Blown away.
And man, let me tell you, this is like running for office, city council, and it's not big. I mean, it is big, but it's not governor, senator. I've learned so many things, and I will tell you, it's probably one of the scariest things I've done. I made that comment in front of my son, and my son was like, "Dad, you've been in combat." Like, yeah, but we trained for that. Some of the things that, happen in, oh my gosh, the social media, some of the things that people get online and just try to destroy you. I haven't seen a lot of it, but I've seen others go through a lot of it, and, from campaign signs to, door knocking. You never know what type of interaction you're going to get with people, and I didn't realize how much work went into campaigning. But I've learned a lot, and I would not trade some of the stories and some of the people that I've met for anything in the world. I've learned so much. It's been great.
Yeah, you've definitely been getting out there and getting after it.
You have to.
And I have to say, it's been, I think, one of the neatest things for me about watching your campaign has been you seem to be having fun with it.
I'm having a lot of fun.
He did a Cracker Barrel sign. He did a Cracker Barrel sign. You remember a few months ago when Cracker Barrel melted down and did that stupid new watered down logo? He did a whole new sign about that.
So I got to give credit to Kansas Ink and Thread, man, because he said, he posted on his page, I think I'm changing my logo. And all I did was reply, bruh. And he replied, dude. And I walked in, and when I walked in, he went, we're going to do the sign, are we? I'm like, yes, absolutely. Yes. It's perfect timing, and that's been my life. It's been perfect timing, with God, driving me, even when I didn't realize I was the passenger, even when I didn't even give credit where credit was due, he had me, and I'm so blessed. I got goosebumps, man. I'm so blessed that now, I realize this, and I'm able to share that with you, my family, for everyone, Man, it has been an awesome journey up to this point.
And the best road, I think, is just laid out in front of you.
I hope so.
All right, so I know you as Chris, but there's another way you're often known, CP.
CP1.
CP1.
Yes.
Let's talk about CP1.
Oh, man. And when I tell people, they look at me like, okay. So when we did boardings with no uniforms on.
No, go back.
Not no uniforms, no name tapes.
Yeah,
that was weird.
No, go back. Like, I know you're talking about boardings. For someone who has no term, what you mean by that term? What is that?
Okay. So when the United Nations put sanctions on Iraq, they said you're limited to how much you can export, oil, dates, whatever, and you will be boarded, and you will comply. And at first it was fine, but then they got to the point where they were losing a lot of money, and it was said that they were taking this money and funding their terrorist organizations. Will I ever know? I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
We'll probably dig into that, but
Yeah.
you know, who you can trust and who you can't trust. Anyway, but then they started, you know, basically running from us. You know, initially they would stop, put down the ladder, you could come up.
And this is out in the Persian Gulf.
Yes, northern Arabian Gulf. Then it got to the point where they wouldn't. They would run in the cover of darkness at nighttime. And this was all new. We were making it up as we would go. We were making it up as we went. And we had to come up with a plan to board these ships. So 1998 was the first year we did a non-compliant boarding, and it was during the daytime. And I remember it well. You know, we boarded the ship, and they were standing back, and I was like, what's going on? And as soon as we got on board the ship, these guys were like, go. And these dogs started running at us. I'm like, rah, 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 and I'm like, oh my gosh, I love dogs, man. I have a dog that I rescued. I love dogs. And this dog was coming towards me, and I had to take out my asp, and I had to hit this dog with my asp. At that point, I was like, I'm done. You know, you made me hurt a dog. You know, and then when we made our way up to the pilot house, you know, this guy's driving the wheel, and I'm like, hey, you know, you need to get down, get away, turn. He wouldn't, so I ended up hurting him. And I'm like, this is the world we live in. So that was 1998. 2000, we did another deployment where they started running at nighttime. And we had to coordinate with the helicopter with forward-looking infrared, and they would see the ship coming out of the channel, and they would give us a heads up, and they would tell us, hey, get your team ready. And I was the team leader. I was in charge. And we would leave the safety of our ship, board a rib with 6 people, a rib, rigid hull inflatable boat, and head to this ship that was smuggling out of the channel. Once it entered international waters, we could board it. And we had communications. We were talking, you know, back to the ship and linked up with the helicopter, and they would pretty much guide us in front of the ship. And it was just the weirdest thing, man. You think about it, you're sitting there in the dark, they're running with no lights, and all of a sudden you hear the boom, 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 and it's getting louder and louder, the diesel engines coming towards you. And a lot of times we get on board listening to the helicopter tell us where squirters were, you know, people that were hiding. We would get on board, make it all the way up to the bridge, and they would turn around and go, how did you get here? That's how coordinated. And I mean, you know, and then we go wake people up in their racks that were sleeping, thinking that we're safe as could be because everyone on the ship had their back. And we wake them up. And it was kind of an adrenaline rush, you know, because here you were thinking that you were so safe and that you were going to smuggle this oil, and there was a lot of it. We're talking huge tankers, you know. You were going to smuggle this oil. And the thing that years later I realized, they were just doing a job, man. You know, they were just trying to provide for their families, and they just got caught up in that time. And then once we realized, yes, they were smuggling oil, we would turn them over to a country, whatever country that would buy the ship and the oil and take them prisoner or whatever. And there was one time where we had to turn over, well, several times, where we had to turn them over to Kuwait. Guess who Iraq was fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Kuwaitis did not like Iraq.
At all.
No.
And I witnessed, you know, the Kuwaitis torturing these people. And I'm like, I'm the leader. I go back and I report it, and they're like, shut up and color. It's not you. None of our business. That was the first time, man. That was the first time I was like,
Are we really the good guys here?
I'm not feeling this.
Yeah.
You know, but yet I was the leader, you know, and then the day after the Cole was bombed, less than I want to say 12 hours later. I'm in Combat Information Center, and I hear them querying the ship. Ship at latitude, longitude, on course and speed. Your intentions are unclear, blah, blah, blah. Answer us on 1-6.
No, let's back up real quick.
Sure.
Like I know the Cole, you know the Cole. Most people listening probably don't know the Cole.
The USS Cole was bombed in Yemen. 27 people lost their lives. We were in Qatar refueling. At the time, I had a bad habit. I was smoking. I was out on the pier smoking. And they're like, get back on the ship. You know how long I've waited to smoke the cigarette? No. Get back on the ship. And then like the senior officers are like, get back on the ship. I'm like, okay, something's going on. We get back on the ship. And there's this tug coming in towards us, and I see the guy rack the 50 cal. And like, that's a big no-no. You don't show aggression in a foreign port. That's a big no-no. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, come to find out the Cole had been bombed. And now that we know there were other ships that were targets, we could have been one of them. We'll never know. But we got underway, and we were told to go to the North Arabian Gulf. And like I said, less than 12 hours later, less than 24 hours later, we're querying the ship, trying to get it to stop, and it wouldn't. Broad daylight. Both of our helicopters are down for phase maintenance. No air support from anyone else, no P-3, no C-130 Spectre gunship, nothing. And we get close enough where this guy walks out onto the bridge wing, and I'm not going to do it, but I will tell you what he did. He gave us the finger. And my CO turns to me and goes, get your team ready. And I paused for maybe 3-4 seconds, which felt like an eternity, and he goes, is there a problem? And I'm thinking what I just told you. And I knew that if I said no, we had a backup team. They're just itching to go. But they're not as qualified as we were. And I'm like, no problem. I go down to the launch deck, and the guys are like, CP1. I'm like, I get it, man. And we had this saying, man, you go, I go. And they're like, you going? I'm going. We go. We're going. And all of a sudden, I look up, and here's this guy coming towards us with a camera around his neck. We've talked about this, Chase, and the camera around his neck, and I'm like, who is this guy? I'm going with you. I'm like, no, you're not. They yell up, he's going with you. This combat camera guy. Oh, my gosh. Weird. I don't have a great feeling about this. Get in, sit down, shut up, don't touch anything. And as we're making our approach to this ship, 2 gunboats come toward us from an anchored barge. And I'm like, freaking knew it. Set up. And I've got a boarding officer who's trying to radio back to the ship saying, we're about to be under attack. Request permission to fire. And he is yelling. No one can understand him. So I lean down. I've got my gun in my hand. It's a beautiful picture of it. I'll get you a picture. I've got a gun in my hand. I radio my backup team. I'm like, David Delano, if you're out there, thank you for this. I'm like, please get to the bridge and let them know what's going on. Do you copy? And I'm on my way. He's climbing ladders. I'm like, cool. I unkey, and this dude stands up, man, and he starts taking pictures. This is his moment to shine. He's taking pictures, man, and he takes a picture of me, and I'm looking at him like, you're next. That picture ended up in all hands saying the U.S. Cromlin boarding team conducting a routine boarding. There was nothing routine about that. Anyway,
that's some public affairs speak right there.
Oh, my gosh. So, I mean, and I Timothy Click was punching me in the side, gunboat, and I look up, and you're like, oh, yeah, man, that's a gunboat. And as they get closer, they're not firing at us, but they're firing. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. The OIC, opportunity, intent, capability, isn't there. I've got one guy in our boat that's freaking out. I want my mama. Yeah, that's what he said. I haven't seen my baby girl. I don't want to die. And then I've got another guy that is laughing. Like, what's the movie? With Mel Gibson, lethal weapon, laughing. You wrote a jump. You really want to jump? You know, and I'm like, what is going on now? You know, and we get the call in my ear, do not fire until fired upon. I'm like, that is lawyer talk. You know, we should have been able, you know, so the ROE was, I mean, it was the day after the Cole got bombed. So that deployment was a lot of that. They ended up implementing or putting an EOD guy on our team, and I'm really good friends with him to this day because they were booby trapping stuff. You know, I am surprised I'm here today because of some of the stuff. I remember doing one boarding where they realized we were boarding and they went to turn the ship and it plucked me off. And I don't know if we just lost 2 SEALs not too long ago. They were doing a boarding, they hit the water, and I don't know if their bodies were ever found or not. But that's dangerous stuff. It plucked me off as I'm boarding this little bitty ladder. I knew I was dead, man. You know, I had that time to think as I was falling down. And Joshua Mackey, the coxswain, caught me in the rib like an outfielder catching a ball. Tell me God wasn't with me, man.
Wow.
And, you know, all of this stuff that was happening, you know, me doing the great things, and I never gave glory to God. You know, I never. And there's some other things, you know, I would like to discuss too. But, man, I look back on it and, like, recently becoming, you know, a Catholic, there were times where I was going through OCIA where I would just tear up, and nobody knew. Nobody knew what was going on because nobody understood. I'm like, well, I almost died then. I didn't thank God. You know, well, that almost happened. I didn't thank God. But, man, I am so glad that I get to share this now with my family and watching them go through, you know, the glory that God puts on us every day, you know. And then, I mean, I don't know when you want to get into it, but the battle scars that come along with doing stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, was it 2016? Tim, the guy that was like, you know, you want to shoot? Let's shoot. And like the boarding officer, don't freaking shoot. We're going to Leavenworth. I'm here now. It's not that bad. No. But, you know, he calls me and he's like, he's crying. And I'm like, Tim, what's going on, man? 19 years and 6 months in, he popped on a piss test. For those of people that don't know what popped, he tested positive for drugs in his system 6 months before he retired. Yeah, man. And he's like, I need you to write a character letter for me. And I'm like, oh, I'm so disappointed. But how do you not when, you know, you've been through so much and, you know, you almost, I knew he suffered. I knew he suffered from PTSD. You know, I had boxed it up, put it away, didn't want to talk about it. You know, any times before he would call me, hey, man, you remember that time? Nah, I don't want to talk about it. And I never really talked about it. But as I started writing that letter, these emotions started coming over me, man, and I started crying, and guys in my office were like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, hey, y'all can go home early. I'm good. And at this time, I was a training officer at Naval Air Station Fallon, you know, huge for the entire base, you know, and I'm like, what is going on? I go home, and my wife is like, you need to talk to someone. I'm CP1, man. I've led people into battle and brought them home. I don't talk to anybody. I don't need help. Just promise me you'll talk to somebody. So I talked to, God, man, Mike Mader. He died years ago, but he was a VSO for Nevada. And as I'm talking to him, he goes, Monday morning, I want you to go in. I'm like, I'm okay, man. I'm all right. This man saw something in me that he's seen in many others and knew that I needed help. I couldn't even see it. So I walk in Monday morning, and sure enough, they're like, you're Chris Pierce. I'm like, what in the world is going on here, man? Like, Mike told you I was coming? And I talked to somebody, and he recommended me to go to Reno, which was an hour away from Fallon. And I'm like, I'm okay. Well, Chase come to find out I wasn't. You know? And Monique Foreman, if you're out there and you happen to stumble on this podcast, I want to say thank you. She saved my life, man. Going through therapy with her, you know. And Tim got his letter. He was able to retire. But I told him, I said, I'll give you this letter on one deal. I go, you go. I go get help, you go get help. And he, to my knowledge, he's gone and got help. I've had to take a trip to see him, and we've gotten into it because at the time he was still declining. But I am very proud of the steps that he's taken, man, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't be where I am now, you know. And as men, we should hold each other accountable. We should make sure that we're telling each other the hard truths, you know, and it would have been very easy for me to turn my back on him and many others. That's not who I am, you know. And I was so proud, Chase, of the accomplishments because, I mean, you know, man, this is going to be rough. It got to the point, I mean, you know, I got a service dog. I went to therapy and I was in one of the meetings and, hey, I've got an extra service dog. I know a friend has an extra service dog that wants to give to you. And it was a pit. I'm like, ooh.
I've never seen a pit as a service dog.
It's a thing. They're the smartest dogs I've ever been around. And I'm like, it's a pit. You know, the label. It's how you treat and train the dog, man. And when I'm like, it's a pit. I met Porter. It was the funniest thing. I walked into the Nevada Humane Societies where we were doing training. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. I made eye contact with this dog. And he got down from his stay and came and curled up under my feet. And Zoe at the time was like, I've never seen that before. I'm like, no, nope. Don't want a pit. I'm like, my kids will get me out of this. All right, kids, we're going to go to training. You're going to meet Porter. And when you meet Porter, you're going to not like him. And that's going to be my way out. My kids were like, we love him. So I went through a year of training with Porter. And I told my boss at the time, David Holleran, man, if you're out there, thank you. Because I told him I was getting help and that I was possibly going to get a service dog. And he said, if you didn't get help, I would worry about you. So, you know, he goes, anything you need, you got. You know, and it was great, man. Went through a year of training, brought him to work when I would get not really stressed out, but, you know, hell, he needs a walk. I go, you know, take him for a walk for lunch, you know, and bring him back. Or it was great. And everything was fine. Everything was wonderful until David Halloran changed command with the executive officer at the same time. And then we got new leadership. And before I go into that portion, I would like to, if it's okay, talk about how I started off as training officer at Naval Air Station Fallon.
Yeah, but before we do that,
Absolutely.
I want to go back because I don't want to miss talking about post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're willing to have that conversation, and that's a conversation that we aren't having nearly enough
No
of.
one wants to talk about it.
Yeah, no one does. And I don't say this braggadociously, Chris. I say it with some amount of shame that I went through the first half of my military career almost believing it wasn't a thing. I'm in the Army. I've been in the Army 10 years. I don't have anything wrong with me, so I thought. June 1st, 2012, Forward Operating Base Salerno, Coast Province, Afghanistan. Complex vehicle-borne IED attack, breached our southeast perimeter, follow on about a dozen guys, light infantry attack on the base. I had never experienced that kind of shockwave before. I can remember that day like it was yesterday. And for anyone who wants to know more, Google the go to YouTube. Just look up Fob Salerno June 2012 attack. There are videos out there of it that came out later on. You can even see the formerly classified video is out there as well. I was home on leave about 3 weeks. I guess it was about a month later. What? This is June 1st. So it was about 3 weeks later. I went home for my 2-week R&R. And I love fireworks. I'm a pyromaniac, dude. Like, my dad raised me loving fireworks. Every July 4th, we go and we buy stock, and me, like all my kids, they love lighting them off. Even my 5-year-old loves them. You know, the dog didn't love them. We're like, go inside.
Right.
Do what you're going to do. I don't care. It's 4th of July. We're making things go boom. July 4th, 2012 was not a good night for me.
Oh, man.
And I realized this is a thing.
Yep.
This is a thing.
But we don't talk about it. We
Yeah.
don't talk about it. And when Monique told me, she goes, "You want the good news or the bad news?" I go, "Give me the bad news." She goes, "Full-blown combat PTSD." I was like, hand me the box of Kleenex. I started crying, and I think I emptied the entire box. And I told her, I'm like, it's not the diagnosis. That's not what scares me. It's how others will perceive it, because I know how I perceived it. Mm-hmm. You're weak. You are a bad word that I'm not going to say on this podcast. You know, you suck it up, Buttercup. Mm-hmm. You know how many other people are out there too? And, you know, man, reading Dave Grossman's book, I believe it was On Killing, but he talks about On Combat and On Killing are two great books. On Combat was therapeutic for me, but On Killing, he talked about how this guy went and got help and came back to the unit, and people in the unit were like, "Hey man, this guy's he's cuckoo, man. He went and got help." And the leader went, "I'm worried about the ones that don't get help." Mm-hmm. And for Dave Holleran to say that to me, I'm like, and I had already read the book prior to that, and I'm like, I love this guy, man. Like, yeah, we don't talk about it enough. But Chase, yeah, man, fireworks, this past 4th of July, because Kansas goes off.
They do.
Oh, my gosh.
Especially Lansing. It's,
yes.
Yeah, my street's like Baghdad.
So,
4th of
yes.
July. Yeah.
So, Steph and the kids, they, you know, they said they were going to go to Fort Leavenworth. And I'm like, it might be a little bit too much for me. So I stayed at home, and I sat out on my deck. Bro, when they came home, I was asleep. It was sensory overload. You know, so there's still time. And I understand it. I understand it now. Sometimes you're just going to have to go, I need a break. But what about when you didn't understand it? What's going on with me? What is happening right now? You know, and I still like fireworks. I like going to the range and shooting. I mean, we were just there this past weekend, you know. But, dude, prior to me finding out what was going on in my head, the smell of diesel smoke, because the ships were diesel engine, and you smell diesel, and you're like, well, what was going on with me? You know, I didn't know. These are all things I had to learn. But if you're not willing to talk about it, if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not willing to, you know, say, hey, there might be something there, or others aren't willing to understand it, you'll never get better, you know. And I'm thankful. My wife, man, my wife was the one that was like, go get help. And I'm like, yeah. To the point, after I got help, that's when it really got bad. Because now I'm talking about these things. They talked about picking off the scab, you know, peeling back the onion. All phrases at the time I was like, if you say that one more time, I want to punch you, you know. But it's true. You know, you talk about it. Even my wife said yesterday, she goes, why would you go on a podcast and talk about the things that, because I can talk about it now, you know, and it's because, you know, we went through. She walked in one night. We got into an argument over money, whatever, you know. And I went to the refrigerator, grabbed my 9mm, hammered back, one in the chamber. And she walked in, and she went, ooh, not like that. Just as simple as, I'm just cool as, I don't know how she remained so calm, but she was like, not like that. And at the time, my phone rang. My good buddy, Trent, called me. He said, hey, man, I just felt like I needed to talk to you. Everything good? I'm like, oh, who was that? That was God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been there, man. So anybody that says they haven't, or you don't understand, dude, I've been through a lot. When I didn't even talk about me going to jail before I joined the military. And I'm not talking DUI arrest, went to jail. I served time. I was $5 away from a felony because I transported stolen merchandise across state lines. I've been there, man. You know, and when I went to court in North Carolina for my second charge, he goes, I'm going to give you 60 days to be in some form of military. I thought he was going to give me 60 more days. It was some form of military. And the cool thing was, what the irony, you know, the county that I went to jail in was the county that the recruiter was in that got me in the Navy. Yeah. You know, he goes, so you were with some people that stole some merchandise. No, man, I was the guy that stole the merchandise. You were with some people that stole some merchandise. I need you to sign that right there. That's how I came in. Came in on a waiver. 22 years. I retired in 2010. But yeah, man, that was God. $5 away from a felony. Could have changed my entire life. Did I give glory to God then? No, I didn't. I didn't. You know, so for me to be here now, doing what, you know, God's path that he's put me on, bring it. Bring it.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I love it, man. I so appreciate your willingness to talk openly about the scars of service. And it's not something that I sit around and do a lot of thinking on. But I don't think most Americans have any clue the cost that is borne by the men and women of the military today. And I look back across history, and in terms of technology, in terms of creature comfort, and in terms of battlefield medicine, we've got it so much better than our predecessors. Like, if you ever go through an old Civil War museum and you see the old Civil War surgeon's kit, and I'm like, thank God I'm a soldier, the 2Ks. But in my lifetime, it's been just deployment after deployment after deployment. And that's what you lived, was deployment after deployment. Correct. After deployment.
Correct.
And when we're there in the heat of the moment, we have the Toby Keith soundtrack going, American Soldier, and we're here defending freedom and defending liberty. And I don't know what it's been like for you, but for me, every time I started noticing, are we really defending liberty here? Are we really defending freedom? Or am I really... Rob Green was the first episode that I did. Commander Rob Green, U.S. Navy. He's still in. Probably one of the bravest men I know. Because he's still in and he's ringing this bell as an active duty commander. And they've tried coming for him, and I'm sure they're not done trying. And he just refuses to back down. And he said to me, when I first started pushing back on the unlawful COVID mandates, that's when for the first time in my life I realized I was actually fighting for the Constitution.
Yep.
And I look back and I'm grateful for the time I got to serve, and I take a great deal of satisfaction in much of what I did. But I look at the toll, and I'm lucky. I had 2 deployments. I'm the lucky one. My youthful foolhardiness would have got me into much more had God not gotten in the way. I know guys who had multiple, 6, 7, 8, and that takes a toll on marriage. It takes a toll on family. The combat stress that you come out of that with.
Yeah.
People who don't know what it's like to live in a peacetime environment anymore. Yeah. And it frustrates. The more I reflect on it, the angrier I get. Because I'm not a pacifist. I'm the opposite of a pacifist. I believe in just war. Like, it's part of the world in post-Genesis 3. But I don't like the idea of war just for war's sake. And I argue frequently that we have made war the top American export in our lifetimes. I told Lori when Afghanistan wound down, I said, hey, babe, mark my words. Within 12 months from this date, we will be engaged in some other major war somewhere. How do I know? I know because the people who fill the office space in Crystal City, Virginia, across the street from the Pentagon, have no interest in having that spigot turned off. They still need to sell missiles and munitions and satellite services.
It's a business.
It's a business.
It's a business.
And sure enough, what we traded Afghanistan and we got Ukraine and Gaza.
Yeah.
And I have to ask myself, I can't stop asking myself, was everything that I did, were all the campaigns I
there's
did?
that question.
Yeah.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, man.
And no one wants to ask that. And I know there are probably some people just turned it off and said, done with this episode, maybe even done with him. But I mean, you have to ask the question. You have to ask the question. And I'm not demeaning anyone's service in that campaign.
Nope, not at all.
Right. We went because we were given orders and we believed them to be righteous orders. We went and we did them.
But guess what? We got some people in office now that are not afraid to say what needs to be said. I'm just throwing it out there, and a lot of the things, a lot of the things that are happening, people are standing up going, hey, I can be proud again. Man, I don't know when, I know when David Halloran left. Is it okay to transition?
Yeah, go for it.
Where
Where are we again?
say again?
Walk us through where we're going again.
Talking about the whole. Let me back up. I took the job in 2010.
This is the civilian job working for the Navy after you
Working for the
retired.
Navy.
Okay.
Was a contractor. And when I first showed up, my job was to put together large anti-terrorism scenarios. At the time, we were doing 2 a year and 2 man-made a year. I don't know if you understand how hard that is. That's a lot of planning. So I go and I meet the security officer for the base, who's in charge of the MPs. So I'm saying it so the Army people can, the Navy Security Force, or MPs. And I was told, you'll never have the need to know what we do over here. I'm like, ugh. And my mouth gets me in trouble, bro. I'm sorry. I went, listen, Navy SEAL, my clearance is just as high as yours, maybe even higher. I said, we have to work together. You'll never have the need to know what we do over here. And I'm like, what is going on? I go back and I tell Otto Sieber, the guy that hired me, love the guy. I'm like, he goes, just try to work with them. Aviators are a different bunch of people. And I love them, man, because they're so laid back. They can fly. And they're pushing, airplanes and helicopters to the limits. And I remember him pulling me in one time. He goes, Otto, he goes, you were a little hard on the dispatcher. And all I said was, hey, I need you to think, key, speak during a debrief. You were a lot of like uhs and ahs, needs to be clear, concise. He said, you were a little hard on the dispatcher. He goes, listen, we're aviators, man. We don't kill anybody, it's good. We don't injure anybody, don't spend a lot of money, waste a lot of money, it's good. So we tend to be laid back more than brown shoes, which are surface Navy. So it wasn't long after that, we're doing another drill, and I'll get back to the security force. And we were doing an IED drill. We're going to use a suitcase. So, Chase, you were supposed to bring the suitcase. Did you bring the suitcase? No, I forgot. Backup. You were supposed to bring the backup. Oh, you didn't bring it either? I'm like, come on, guys. This is something I'd like to know before I got up here and started briefing this brief. And I looked over at Otto, and he gives me the, like, you're doing it again. So, when I went to him and I'm like, I'm having problems with this guy. I'll just try to work it out. Well, come to find out, man, they were falsifying documents. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And when the CO at the time, Reinhard Wilke, God rest his soul, he came by my office and said, I need you to go over with me to inspect their training records. And I'm like, I'm not allowed. I mean, they don't want me over there. He goes, don't worry. The security officer has been told not to be there. So I show up, and I'm inspecting training records, and I realize that I'm like, this is bad. In the Navy, you have to have, if you're doing a job, you have to have personal qualification standards. You can have job qualification standards attached to them because it might be a different base, different rules, different things. But the fundamentals you can't just not do. And they weren't doing them. And he goes, what do you think, Chris? And I went, hardest thing man, talk about hard conversations. One of the hardest things, so I'm a brand new GS, not even a year. I go, you're going to get fired. Reinhard Wilke, nobody's going to fire. I go, sir, you have people walking around carrying guns, writing tickets, driving cars, standing watches that aren't qualified to do so. I said, if someone has a negligent discharge, worst case scenario, shoot someone, and they kill them, you will be relieved. He goes, you're going to help me fix it. I go, they hate me. My phone rings. It's my wife. I sent her to voicemail. It rings again. I sent her to voicemail. It rings again. And I'm like, what is going on? Let me take this. And she's yelling at me, don't you hang up on me. Are you over inspecting security records? Yes, I am. Why? My wife was a pharmacy tech. He went to her window and said, if we don't pass, you won't be able to get on base. Monday morning. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This was 2010. He got relieved. But this is what I dealt with. Now, you had civilians over there that were working for him that believed the same things, but this is the fight that I had to fight. I had to win them over. By 2015, we had the #1 training team in the Navy. Not my words. The assessors that came out were like, I don't know how you do this. We were using drama students from the high school. We had federal, state, local entities. I'm flying helicopters to an hour away with patients on them, admitting them into the hospitals. It was amazing. Then Halloran changed commands with his CO and his XO. They both changed commands. And that's when things started to change because I bumped heads with the executive officer and people began to see it. Oh, they don't like each other. He was one of the most, just arrogant people I've ever met in my life. And I try to I can get along with anybody. But when other department heads that I had been holding accountable and other people I had been holding accountable began to see this, they began to jump on. I had an E5 that was in my office, and he went to senior leadership and said, Chris's PTSD is too much for me. I can't work for him.
Pulled the PTSD card.
Pulled him right out of my office without telling me why. And Chase, I'd never given anybody any reason. I never yelled. I have never been that. Otto Sieber made me get rid of that in 2010. You're doing it again, So I was really mellow, and I'm like, you can ask anyone. That's not me, man. I don't raise my voice. I don't throw a temper tantrum. That's not me. He left. They put another E5 in the office. That guy coached the new E5 and said, all you got to do is say it. A couple of months later, he was like, his PTSD. They moved him out. The third guy, E5, they coached him. They didn't have any place to put this guy. So 4 months later, he goes, I owe you an apology, man. You're like really cool to work for. They tainted your name before I ever came in here. I went to the leading petty officer and I asked him, I said, is this happening? Yeah, Chris, they say you're really hard to work for. I'm like, that's because they don't know how to do their job. I've done this job since 2010, #1 training team. They're lazy, and I'm calling them out on it, and they don't like it. And they're going to go use my PTSD as a crutch? That's not okay. So I did what any other person would do. I filed an EEO. That's supposed to be there to protect us, right?
Theoretically.
Wrong. Wrong. And this is what my wife was like, why would you go on and just talk about that all over again? Listen, man, because it's wrong. I spent $30,000 of our money, our savings, because I'm like, I am not going to settle for some attorney or blah, blah, blah. I went with a corporation out of Dallas. And the judge, like after appeal, blah, judge never even looked at the case. And the IG that investigated was from Navy Region Southwest. They protected their own. It got to the point where I'm in my office one day before, and now anonymous complaints. That XO called me in. I want you to read this. He had it up on the board, and it said, I was at Stockman's in the parking lot. This white truck pulled up next to me. When he opened his door, he dinged my door. I got out to investigate. He started yelling at me. Do you know who I am? I'm the training officer for NAS Fallon. I'll have my good friend, the sheriff, have you arrested. Get back in your car and never talk to me again. I was really afraid. He was really aggressive. And I'm looking at it. He's behind me. I'm like, God, please tell me this is a joke. And I turn around and he goes, we can't have you acting like that. That never happened. You're saying it never happened. Ooh, yes, I'm saying it never happened. I thought this was a joke. So who sent it? Oh, it's anonymous. Of course it is. Chris, you're saying this never happened. It didn't happen at Walmart. I'm like, listen, if I did at someone's door, you could ask my son, who's the youngest, what would I do? He would tell you, my dad would pay for it. That's the type of person I am. I don't appreciate this. And then he goes, well, if you didn't do anything wrong, don't worry about it. Clearly coming after me. The NCIS agent walks into my office before a planning meeting and goes, hey, I wanted to talk to you anyway. I'm glad we got this moment. What is Rotary? I can say that, right? I can say the nonprofit.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Slippery slope, man. He goes, what is Rotary? And I'm thinking, man, Nick is about to become a Rotarian. I'm going to get cool points for this. I'm like, it's the largest service organization in the world, man. Over 2 million people worldwide. Well, who attends? I'm like, well, myself, this commanding officer, the PAO, zip, you know. Yeah. 4 or 5 questions in, I'm like, this is not him. He's not going to join. He's like, you know, who speaks? Any Chinese nationals? What's going on, Nick? He goes, man, somebody said that they think you violate operational security when you attend these meetings. Another GS department head. One of the same ones that hopped on the bandwagon when I filed the EO and said, I'm afraid he's going to snap at any moment. Another department said he's paranoid. Clearly, all of them going after my PTSD, trying to get me to snap. So when we heard that, my wife and I said we have to leave. And when I told the XO we were thinking about leaving, he went, where would you go? Just as, like, no, we don't want you to leave. Where would you go? What would you do? Chase, I'm here. We left. We had to get out because it was only a matter of time before they tried something else to see what stuck. I never thought, and like other people came up to me prior to and said, hey, I filed an EO and I just can't believe nothing happened. I'm like, I don't know the whole story. That I'm the training officer. Not only do I do the anti-terrorism and the man-made scenarios, my office was also in charge of making sure that the EO training and the diversity training and everything, the EO training, active shooter training, and like the classroom portion was taught. At that point, I began to, I was like, I'm questioning everything. Like, how many other people? And I was a GS 12 step 8. If my voice was silenced, you're crushing everyone else. You're crushing their windpipes.
We have this idea that we have all these investigative processes out there to save the soldiers, to protect the soldiers. And when I say soldier, I mean military member,
right? Yeah.
And I found over the course of my career, in general, there are some exceptions to the rule, but in general, those systems are just there almost to allow certain people in the organization to harass other people, almost like an out-of-control HOA in some ways.
Yeah.
Right, just to bring it down to
I never really
civilian
thought about
terms.
it like that, but absolutely.
But I mean, I saw that so much. That's one thing I do appreciate about the current Secretary of War, and there are a lot of things that I'm being critical on, especially COVID reinstatements. In case you haven't heard me, Pete, your staff stinks at this. Whip them into shape. But one thing I really appreciate about the Secretary is his take when he talked to the generals a while back, and he said, hey, look, this investigative culture, we got to do something about this. We're going to stop just automatically flagging someone because someone made a complaint. We're going to give them a sense of due process. Because the way it is right now, like if I wanted to sue you or you wanted to sue me, and we take each other to court, there are legal checks we have to go through. We have to bring evidence, and we each have the right to cross-examine each other and to cross-examine each other's witnesses and to bring discovery. There's no such burden of proof in any of those military investigative processes.
Brother, my case was never looked at. And the attorney was like, I've never seen anything like this. And I'm like, is it because of the stuff that I did in 2011 when because it went all the way to Navy Region Southwest. My boss at the time told me in confidence, he said, the executive director for all the civilians told him, because I was uncovering all this, the entire Navy was doing this. The entire Navy wasn't doing PQS because it was so hard to implement. My boss said, this guy said, who in the does Chris Pierce think he is? So I don't know if it was, I don't know, man. I'll never know. But I want to say this, because I don't know how much time we have left, and I definitely want to get to this. We left. We came here. My wife started going, I want to find a church. Go ahead. Well, I've been looking, and I've been not impressed. So she starts going to St. Francis de Sales. And I'm like, you Catholics are crazy. Have fun. My kids started going and started participating in first lector, second lector, and altar serve. And I'm like, I have to go and support my kids. It took me 2 years, but I became Catholic this past Easter. And Megan Kelly had a podcast where she said, I thought about going to another church. I went to another church. She said she went to another church and she just didn't feel right. And when she said that, I'm like, ooh. It was like a year and a half into my trying to become a Catholic. Like, that's not an option for me. This is home, whether, I make it or not. And there were several times when I was going through the process that I broke down because, remember I said earlier, I'd never given glory to God. I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be running for office because I want to be that voice for people that are like, no one's there for us. I've been through it. I'll be there for you. I'll be that voice. I'm that voice that said, no, we're not going to continue to take taxpayer money and give it to, I'm not going to say the entity, when you don't have anything to show for it. And before I could kick my chair out and take 2 steps, boom, they were on me. And I'm like, oh, there's a sign right there that lets me know that something's wrong. So I am so grateful that the journey that God put me on, in between my time in Nevada and being here, I worked at Lowe's for 2 years, almost 2 years. My kids kill me. Next thing it'll be 3 years. Next thing it'll be 4 years. But it was almost 2 years. And in the time that I worked there, I was the #1 sales specialist in the region, And when I first started, she goes, I can only pay you like $10 or $11 an hour. I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. And by the time I left, I had accomplished all these things and we talked the other night at dinner. Never in a million years did I give any glory to God for putting me on this path and giving me the opportunity to do these things. But here I am. And Steph goes, it happened for a reason. And that's the reason. I was supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. I was supposed to meet you. And I'm glad I did. I'm
glad you did too.
I'm glad to be able to call you friend, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to ask my children, what's the purpose of dating? And of course, the teenager, Dad, it's to find a partner that you can marry. Okay? You know, and my son would tell you, it's to find a partner. He's 11. I didn't have that growing up. I'm in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, you really are. It's one thing that I find so consistent that's really awesome about getting to have these conversations is the trial is the training. Right.
Yeah, man.
We are all so much stronger, and I think that's just a fundamental of how God created humans to be. Like the fall, it's a shame it had to happen. And I look forward to a glorified heavens and earth. I look forward to sin being put away forevermore. I look forward to like the fruition of Revelation and the other side of it and all the good stuff. An eternity in the presence of God. But there really is something about the trial is the training. The trial. You have to go through it. Like no one gets stronger without facing adversity. You don't get gains without going to the gym. You don't get faster without spending time on the track. You don't get bolder without having to be in a situation where you had to make a decision. Am I going to be bold or am I going to be silent?
Yep.
And I see that. I mean, we know that military training. That's why we train, right? You don't want to get in a firefight if you've never gone to the range.
Right.
You don't want to be faced with a situation where you have to make a moral decision if you haven't spent time preparing for that. Because it's in those moments you find out who you really are.
It's funny you mention that because that's where, do you remember the XO?
Mm-hmm.
That's where we parted ways. Don't you ever question reaching. They're here to, they wanted us to use red guns. And I'm like, no, you train these guys with their weapons because muscle memory takes over, And he said, and I'm like, well, that sounds like somebody that's never been in combat. And he went, what'd you say? I said, I didn't stutter, and he didn't like that. But you train to fight, and I love the way that you mentioned, man, I was stubborn, man. God was trying to teach me a long time ago, and I just never really listened, until recently. What a great journey. And it makes you look forward to what's to come.
Well, as we think about what's to come, let's talk about what's been. Let's talk a little bit about your raising. Your raising. Because things were like, this is a very different life than the one you grew up with.
It is definitely.
But you learned the value of hard work and perseverance as a young person.
I did, man. Single mom. When she was pregnant, she told my real father, and I've not had a conversation with him.
Ever?
Never.
Wow.
And I think we talked about this, everything I did, besides the jail thing, especially in the military, maybe if I do this, maybe if I'm successful at this, that side of the family would be like, hey, let's have a conversation. And they never have, and they probably never will. But at some point over the last year, I realized it's not for them. It's for me. It's for my family. That's where the focus needs to be. And my mom married my stepdad, Larry, and he came, listen, man, growing up in North Carolina, northeast North Carolina, call it the South, we just didn't say I love you. It wasn't like that. It wasn't, you get ready to go to school, I love you, here's your lunch, like you saw in the TV shows. I knew they loved me. I had a roof over my head. That's how, I had food in my stomach. I had a clean house. That was how we perceived love. And I had a problem with that, man, because I could see others. And me and my stepdad, all he wanted was the best for me, and I fought him every step of the way, you know. And because I didn't get that love, or I felt like I wanted to hang out with somebody that I did get it from, and it was, man, it was people that we were just in it together. We didn't know any better, you know. And I mean, I won't get into some of the things that we did, but we did some pretty bad stuff. But we had fun because we were in it together, and it was like family, you know. We had each other's backs, and I just didn't feel like I had that anywhere else. And then I got in trouble, and I went to jail, and I'm like, I don't want this life. I got to get out of here. My ticket to ride was the military. My mom drove me to the bus station. Larry wasn't there. I know he was probably like, I'm glad that kid is gone. You know, I moved out of the house and moved in with my grandmother, you know, prior to going to jail. And I don't know how long I was with her, but then jail happened. But my mom took me to the bus station, put me on the bus, and away I went. And it wasn't until I joined the military and I had great mentors, you know, John Wayne Baldwin.
That's a name.
Man, I don't know if he's out there. I don't know if he has family members that might listen. But he had a conversation with me, changed my entire life. Here I am, boarding team leader, partying in Bahrain one night, and I ended up off the pier in the ocean, in the water. I walked back to the quarterdeck, and they looked at me and they went, just go to bed. The next morning he calls me in. He didn't yell. He's a born-again Christian. He said, do you like sports? I said, I do. What's your favorite sport? Basketball. Who's your favorite player? Michael Jordan. He goes, you're it, man. He goes, the CO looks up to you because you take people into battle and bring them home. He goes, that E1 looks up to you. You never get a chance. You don't get to choose when to be a role model. You're on 24 hours a day. He handed me a coin, and you've seen that coin on my holder at the house. And it's a constant reminder to me and my family to be that role model every day, because you never get a second chance. And, you know, when I started running, Dan Clemens, who I admire, who's been like, he's going to hate it, like a dad to me. He was like, really, Dad? Yeah, man, because he's the current councilman now. But when he stood up and said, I'm stepping down and I'm endorsing this guy, he sat down at the table and goes, you're under the spotlight 24 hours a day now. I already knew that. Everything you do, everything you say, every social media post can come back to haunt you. You know, social media is such a dangerous place now. But I understand it. My wife and kids understand it. And that's all you can do is make sure that you're preparing, you know, them for the best life they can have. You can't shield them from everything. Things they're going to have to learn on their own. But I'd like to think, knock on wood, we're doing a pretty good job. And God is guiding us all the way.
What was it like, I've got to ask, you were a boarding team leader, and we all have some say in what kind of military specialties that we do. That's, that role takes some spine.
I look back on it, and you couldn't pay me to do it now. It's, man, hats off to the guys and gals that are out there doing it right now, you know. And for the record, not a SEAL. I just want to throw that out there, you know. But worked with EOD, worked with them. You know, it's rough, man. It was rough. My body took a beating. You know, contrary to popular belief, the seas in the North Arabian Gulf are not always calm. You know, you're on the rib riding out to go intercept these boats, and it just falls out from under you. Boom, constantly. And sometimes we did it too. I think there was one night we did it 3 times a night. And we'd hand it over, and there was one time, man, we were sitting around campfire at Lee's house in Kentucky talking about this. And I'm like, do you remember the time we went in, we got on the ship, now we got to go account for everyone else. Well, it was an auxiliary/engine room. We go in, I hit catwalk, go straight. He goes down, and I see the guy down here focus on Lee, and he grabs the screwdriver and tucks it behind him. And Lee's like, get down. And I'm like, please get to him before he gets to Lee. And I walk up behind the dude with my service weapon, and I'm like, psst. And he turns around, and you could see the fear, like, I almost got my butt handed to me. And he drops the screwdriver, and Lee's like, oh, crap. And we don't speak. We've practiced so much, and we don't have to speak. It's a beautiful thing. And then you expect that out of society, and it doesn't happen, and you're let down. Anyway, he gives me the nod. I holster to go hands-on with this dude, and he goes and picks up the screwdriver and starts towards Lee. And I go cross-body, asp, and I take care of business. Well, we're getting ready to turn over because we've got another ship we got to go get. I'll be nice. The boarding officer, she comes up to me and says, that man says, you hit him. I go, no, I didn't hit him. Well, he has signs of obvious. I tried to beat the crap out of him. He almost stabbed. And then when I got back to the ship, I got questioned. Like I did what I needed to do to disarm him and make sure that he knew. It was only 6 of us on the ship, And sometimes we boarded ships with 30 people. At some point, you have, hey, they're going to beat your butt if you don't comply, Hats off to the guys and girls that are doing this now, especially in the time and era where you don't know if your chain of command is going to have your back.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that bothers me the most is we send people out to do these jobs and we leave them questioning. We do that a lot with police too.
100%.
We send them out to do a dangerous job. We leave them questioning, if I do what I have to do to protect people, am I going to be the one in the line of fire now?
Yep.
Right. And it's all cute and coy to say, well, it better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6, but
you should never be there.
You should never have to make that.
Should never. And if anyone in that position of command or authority can hear, that is a crappy place to be. And when it starts entering the team world, boarding team, SEAL team, Ranger, special, not okay. Now, there was a JAG that I had a great relationship with. I can't believe I said that. Rick, if you're out there, you know who I'm talking about. Because when I first met him, I told him, I don't like JAGs. Sorry. And he was like, well, I want to improve that. I'm like, spoken like a warrior. We became really good friends. My kids called him Uncle Rick until he transferred. But he said, we talked about it. When you're an operator, when you're a team guy, you want someone that's right on that line. And when you cross, you want teammates that are like, hey, Chase, you want to dial it back some? Because you're going to do that. I've been there. I've had people tell me, CP1, you're going to kill him. And I'm like, how did I get here? How did I get here? I was deprived of sleep. I was hungry. This was maybe the second boarding I'd done that night. And you tried to kill me when I came on board. And I'm using my hands. I crossed the line, but I didn't. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I was able to come back, and that's a very thin line to walk on. But it comes through training. It comes by training, and it comes by knowing that you're there to achieve the mission, and everyone else goes back to we hold each other accountable. You know, you say the hard things, you do the hard, you know, and it's hard, man. But I can tell you what I have seen in the military. Remember, I've seen Navy, and now I've seen Army. Some of the things I have seen, I think we need to get away from. You know, because we need to be focused on war fighting. Period. Because if it happens, we don't want to spend time playing catch up. I've always said one of my favorite things to say is after an incident is not the time to figure it out. It's not. You know, and some of the woke stuff, I'm not even going to get into that because everybody's talking about it, but some of the woke stuff and that our focus is in the wrong area. And we need, do people not see what's going on in the world right now? We're not at a turning point. We're at a tipping point.
I saw them shoot a man and celebrate it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That disturbed me.
It still bothers me tremendously.
I couldn't believe it. You know, and I had someone tell me, we're talking an officer in the Army tell me, if he was my son, I wouldn't have turned him in. I had to walk away, bro. Had to walk away.
I can't even ask, are you serious? Because I know. Because I served around those kind of people. I saw, we did a whole special episode here talking about that.
I think I told you I had a conversation with Christopher.
Yeah.
I said, I am going to piss people off. I'm going to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Somebody might attack me. Worst case scenario, someone shoots me and kills me. You're never to pick up a gun in retaliation. You're never to pick up a gun and assassinate or kill anyone. And he got mad at me. Dad, why are we having this conversation? You know me better than that. I said, I don't know if Tyler Robertson's dad had that conversation with him ever. But we're having that hard talk.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is not okay to assassinate someone else. It's not okay to kill somebody, you know, for vengeance or because you don't agree with them. How do we get here, man? Oh, that's horrible.
These are the years you could be taking it easy, and you've stepped right out of one lifestyle of fighting into another.
So, you mentioned that. We bought this house, and my wife goes, "This house?" I go, "I promise you, yes, this house." So we redid the shutters, the popcorn ceiling, learned to walk on stilts. That was fun. I never did that, but boy, do I have it down now. You know, took down popcorn ceiling in the entire house, painted the entire house, got it right where we wanted it. And our friend, Kirsten Workman, walks up to me at Steph's birthday party and says, "I want you to run for city council." I go, "Yeah, you're smoking. Have you tested?" And she was like, "No, I'm serious." I'm like, "Walk away from me, Kirsten. I'm here to celebrate my wife's birthday." No, you know. And I prayed on it. This is where I'm supposed to be, man. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Because people need people in places that are not afraid to have difficult discussions and stand on solid ground. And I've seen programs and policies that were supposed to be there to protect people, not. I've had people walk up to me on the campaign trail, promise me you will never vote to turn this into a sanctuary city. You have my promise. And these were people that came here legally. You have my promise. Promise me that you won't turn bathrooms in city parks and blah, blah, blah to, you know, to allow men. No, you have my promise. Has no place. And we need to get back to Christian values, just like when, man, I was so proud of you when you did the proclamation for Traditional Family Month. I was like, this is a guy I can stand behind. And then that day that you didn't show up at the commissioner's meeting, and I showed up, and this woman went, "This is the racist thing I've ever seen." Like, what are you talking about? Right? this is like, you don't want blacks in your neighborhood. You don't want Mexicans in your neighborhood. And I wasn't going to speak, and I stood up and I said, my mom had to apologize for me drinking out of a water fountain when I grew up. That's racist.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you say traditional family, husband, wife, son, daughter, whatever. You push us in a corner.
And I remember looking at the video. I couldn't be there that day because I was actually in studio here that day. And I was so grateful that you were there. You were there with me the week before supporting the resolution. You were there the week I couldn't be there supporting the resolution. And I watched the video, and I thought, straight out of a book, there's a middle-aged white woman who's never experienced racial discrimination in her life getting up trying to gaslight about it.
Correct. And they do that because they know, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. Most white people, because I'm not, most white people will be like, oh, they just used that race thing. Not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Nope, not happening. Because they weaponize it, and that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
If you're Christian, you're conservative, you're Catholic, whatever.
Christian nationalists.
That's right.
Yeah.
They put you in a corner, and they want you to stay there because that's their way.
Like, you can call me whatever you want. I'm still standing.
I'm not that guy. I'll challenge you. And I was expecting, after this airs, the election will be over. Either I will be in or we'll be taking more vacations. But I was expecting a lot more criticism, critics, whatever you want, hate online. But I think people know I won't go back and forth with you online. I just won't. I've sent you some stuff, some stuff that I'm like, really? I'm not going to do it. I want to. That little devil was like, go get him. Come on, man. Get away from me. I'm a God-fearing person. Get away from me. Yeah. I think they know. I think they know that you're going to lose. You're not going to win. I'm not going to do that. I have bigger things to worry about. And that's city and what goes on from Washington, how it affects the state and down to the local levels. That's what I'm paying attention to. While you're online trying to start arguments, you're not thinking about the big picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we need to be. That's where I'll be. So
I'm glad you're there. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad we've got to know each other. I mean,
you were right, man. Like, it's just like we're sitting down at the kitchen table like we were the other night. This has been great.
Yeah, people talk about, is this going to be okay? I'm not sure I can do it. I'm like, we're just talking.
We're just talking.
All right, there are a couple microphones in the way. We're just talking.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know. Like, you walk in, man, and you got the lights and you got the camera and you got this is my first podcast, man.
First ever.
You're
good at it. You should do more.
I don't like them. I don't. Yeah, I like doing business. And my wife, she would beg to differ. See the post she posts. Like, we just stopped going with him because he'll talk to anyone. Yeah.
Part of your Southern charm.
I guess something, man.
I appreciate you, Chris.
I appreciate you, Chase.
It's been so, I think I've told you this before. It's so hard to find people who can have a really good intellectual discussion with about these matters over and over and over again. And beyond that, people who are actually willing to get in, who are actually willing to get their hands in the mix, and who are actually willing to put shoulder to plow and get after it.
It's hard, man, especially with the hate that's going on right now and talking to people. I won't mention where I went, but there's a lot of hate out there.
There is.
And I mean, I've gone to just, it's an event, I think I'll show up. And then when I'm there, I'm like, I'm at the wrong event. These people are like, if I see president, I'd want to kill him. I'm like, how can you say I'm right? You don't even know me. But these are conversations that are happening in front of people they don't know.
It's definitely the last few weeks. They've made me look at things differently.
Yeah.
I look behind me a little more now. I think I told you I've got a death threat.
Yes.
I've got a lot of nasty mail lately.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just there's a darkness out there. But you know what?
It's sad.
In the darkness, light can shine brighter.
That's right.
Like that's what this is about, right? And it's easy to stand when it's easy. When the culture is going towards what is good, it's easy to stand for what is good. When the culture is inevitably going towards what is bad, that's when it's hard, when you're actually having to go against the current. I mean, and this isn't new. I mean, look back to the first century church. I mean, Paul talks about that. You know, not going with the currents of culture, but standing boldly.
We are in, I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, another chase, Hughes. We're in the biggest PSYOPs operation in our time right now, because you're fueled by what you look at on your phone or on your computer, and the algorithms take over. I'm probably going to, I'm not afraid to die. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there. I have made peace with the Lord, but I will tell you this right now. It's being controlled from way up here. You know, and I know this sounds like tinfoil stuff, but if you think about it, what you look at on your phone, the feeds are constant. The same. It's not like you look at this and then it's a left or a right. No, it constantly feeds you what fuels you, but just adds to your fire. Same thing with the other side. And the people that are doing it are way up because that's what they want. They want division. And you have to be smart enough, and this is where it's very hard for people to go, I'm smarter than that. I'm not going to let it do that to me. I'm going to put my phone down. I'm going to spend more time with my family, because that's what they don't want you to do. They don't want you to spend the time with your family. They want you to be divided.
They want you isolated. They want you lonely. They want you to be completely divorced from any connection to history, to your lineage, to your local geography.
Correct.
Everybody can talk about who the president is. Well, okay. Most people know who the president is. How many people know who their city councilman is, right? They want you divorced from local.
Correct. And there are people out there that are like, I don't care. How you go? My son, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go for it.
We were outdoor knocking the other day. My son went to walk up to a gentleman. Excuse me, sir. Now, you know Christopher, just as polite as he can be.
Oh, yeah, he's a great kid.
Excuse me, sir. My dad is running for city council, and I was wondering, I'm not interested. How can you snap at an 11-year-old, man? People are fed up. People are fed up. And it's, I don't know. We got to bring it back, man. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. You do what you do. And I think after the Charlie Kirk assassination, let's call it what it is, I think a lot of people are waking up.
Oh, yeah. I think the blinders came off a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot more people are, I mean, you have to look around at the atmospherics. And when you see people shoot at a man and then celebrate it.
Yeah. You know, one of the favorite things, I'm putting myself out there, one of the favorite things I like to do, man, is I have a fire tower, and I like to sit out. It's a fire. I don't know if you saw it when you were there, but it's a tube. It's got the flame on the inside so the wind doesn't affect it. I like to sit out on my deck at night and just reflect over the day, the week, the future. Man, when you can't see what's outside, you know, you begin to think, man, I'm a target sitting here. And you don't want, that's a bad place to be in life, man. That's where I am. So I'll stay out for a little bit, but I don't stay out there as long as I used to. You know, it's bad. But I'm still going to, you know, continue to live. Yesterday, as you know, hopefully I won't be furloughed when this comes out, but I am furloughed right now.
Because of the government shutdown.
Correct.
Right, yeah.
And my wife and I, we have season pass. The entire family has season passes to the zoo. Christopher goes, Dad, can we go? I didn't know why he wanted me to go so bad. It was because Mom and Ken's won't ride the zip line with him, so he can't go by himself. So I show up yesterday. He's like, zip line? Absolutely, man. You know, and that's what we did yesterday. Family time. You know, unplug. And You have to. God and family, man. You got to put it. It has changed everything for me. Positively, not negatively. And that's what I recommend. It has helped me mentally. My mind is in such a better place, you know. I don't know, man. All the things that happened in the past, the test you talked about, has definitely made me. Steph is the one that's like, I can't take this. I can't take this anymore. You know, and I'm like, this is nothing. All the stuff that God put me through prior to, this is a cakewalk. So, put God first.
Amen. Amen. Where can people find you, learn more about you?
CP1 for Lansing.
CP1 for Lansing.
City Council. CP1 for Lansing City Council. You know, I'm always up for a talk. You know, we might not always agree. But I definitely want to be the next voice for Lansing, and I also for Ward 4. But just in general, man, if someone sees this and says, I almost said a bad word, geez, this guy's been through a lot. I can relate. I'm going to go get help. It's a win. Because if we lose one person, and I was there, man, and then once I got better, they almost got me to the point where I was like, maybe I'm not better. You know, maybe, does people really think that about me? I'm about to snap? No. People are going to do that. Just know that there are some sick people out there, and they're going to try, when they can't get to you any other way, they're going to do that. But you put God first, and you put family next. Everything else is a bonus, man. That's how you get through that. And don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Surround yourself with like-minded people. Worry about your circle. Take care of your circle. You'll be good.
Might I say, righteously like-minded people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's a brave person you know? Who else should be in that chair next?
Man. Boy, that's a good one. I might have to get back to you on that one.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
You know, when I saw Kirsten come on, and I heard she was nervous. And like the way
She was so good.
she was professional.
Yes, she is.
You know, it made me, I'm like, maybe it's not so bad.
It was just a delight to have her on. Yeah, I was so grateful she was willing to come.
You know, I'm trying to get my daughter loves writing books. I would love for her to publish a book. And I told her this, and other people are like, oh my gosh, it would be amazing. Publish a book about, from your perspective, how it was growing up in a house where a person had it, didn't know it, learned that they had it, went through everything that is trauma. How did it affect you? I think it would be a bestseller. Because she's been through a lot. She is one strong cookie, man. Like, just, you know, she's been through it all. When I didn't want to go do things, no, we're not doing that. I don't want to be around crowds. She suffered. And then you go through it and you play the, I should have been there. I should have done that. You know, she's a dad. It's okay. You weren't even there for my birth. Yeah.
Yeah, we had that story the other night.
I got there late. Yeah. But yeah, she has that sense of humor, you know.
She's a really cool kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're raising two great ones. We had a lot of fun getting to know them a little more the other night, and my daughters just had a great time with them.
Yeah.
Keep building the Lego collection, I'll say that.
Yeah. It's fun, man.
It's awesome. Any other parting shots? Anything else?
I will tell anybody that is thinking about coming on, it's an honor, and it's great. Don't hesitate. It's great, man. You're doing a great job.
Well, thanks. It's an honor to do it, and we don't do it alone. It's I have great partners here, and on that note, I'll throw them a little pitch here, because we are coming to you from the Herzog Foundation Studios in Smithville, Missouri. They're amazing partners in this work of getting to help spread the message of courage. I encourage you to check them out at herzogfoundation.com. If you'd like to know a little bit more about me and my work, you can head on over to chasespears.com. It's a joy on this podcast to bring you stories of courage from men and women who have walked through it. It's up to you now to put these principles into practice. It's up to you to find your spine. So get to it. I'm Chase Spears. Thanks for listening.
Remember to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next time on Finding Your Spine.